Deena Englander is the founder and CEO of Workstream Business Systems and Workstream Nonprofit. Through her work, she helps organizations streamline and automate critical processes, build sustainable systems, increase operational capacity, and gain access to the tools they need to effectively and efficiently grow their businesses. She is a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt with deep expertise in helping organizations enhance their effectiveness and scale their impact. Please help me in welcoming our speaker, Deena Englander.
Okay, I like to talk, and I'll make sure I move. So you can hear me all. So first of all, hi everybody. Thanks for coming out here today. I'm really excited about this presentation, and I hope that you all walk away with some really great tips to make your work life a whole lot more efficient. First of all, does everybody have a copy of this worksheet? If not, I have more up here, or there's more on the table over there. Yes, perfect. Okay. Because one of my big principles of how we learn is by doing, and in order to do, if we write things down, then maybe we remember a little better, and maybe we can actually take things back. A little bit about me. I started Workstream Business Systems about 17 years ago, and about 5 years ago started a Workstream nonprofit. The goal is to reduce operational bottlenecks that are helping people from achieving their maximum impact. We also want to make people calm. We want to reduce chaos. Being a business owner does not mean that you need to feel chaotic and that you need to be overwhelmed. You can have structure, you can have boundaries, and there are systems and infrastructure that you put into place that are going to help. For the nonprofit side, I see that challenge even more, which is why we founded it, but hopefully with the opportunity to be able to accept grants. But we also provide fractional services ranging from bookkeeping, executive assistance, grant writing help, all the way up to fractional COO. Because I'm a firm believer that if we train people and give them the right knowledge, which is what we are here for today, they can learn, do better, and be more successful in what they're doing. So think about this. Do you ever have the problem of critical tasks, something gets lost, forgotten about, something didn't get done? Or in your team, not knowing what other people are working on, difficulty delegating. The key process is just one person knows how to do it, and if you lose that person, then you are in trouble. Multiple people working on the same thing, and you feel like it's too many people trying to work on it, and it just makes it really overwhelming. We're feeling overwhelmed. Show of hands, does anybody ever feel overwhelmed when they work? Right? Yeah. We want to make that go away, and it is possible to do that. The main tools, the perspectives that I try to have everybody think on always is that you want to delegate and automate. And we're going to come back to these things a lot. Delegating and automating. Delegating is what can somebody else, not just a person, but maybe AI or a software or someone else can do this for me. And automating. If I have a thing that I'm doing all the time, the same thing, how can we make that process go faster, go better? Usually having tech do it for you. So we're going to take a look at all the tools and all the things that you need to be thinking about in order to implement this to make your workflow better, stronger, and take the overwhelm out of your life. So, first thing that we want to do is take a look at, and this is your first exercise, we want to map your pain. What is hurting you the most right now? Is it sales and lead generation? Now, thinking that from a tech perspective, we get a lot of information. You come here, we have, 40-ish people here now. Now, what happens with all that information? Are any of them potential referral partners, potential clients? How are you following up? Where does all that go? Do you need a CRM? Are you keeping track of it all, or is it just you meet people and then you don't really have something that follows the sales process about what potential candidates are? I personally don't like making it too mercenarial. Like, this is where everybody is on the lead process. Like, I had a relationship, I had a talk, this is what they're interested in, let me follow up, but I need something to track that. It might be client onboarding. This is a very common step that once you do sign on the client, what are the things that you need to do? It might be make a Google Google Drive folder, make sure they have all their contracts signed, get their logins for whatever it is, do an intake call. What's your process for that? What software are you using? We have project and service management, and this is probably where a lot of your work is coming in. Most of what we do is in project delivery, program delivery, project management, whatever we want to call it. This is usually where we can help people achieve the most impact. Operations and HR, so if you have staff, if you have just things you need to get done, password management, just stuff. It just feels like there's a lot of things in a lot of different places. That's operations and HR, and then there's billing and finance. Which of these are giving you the most pains right now? So take a moment to think about that. We want to rank it, if it's whichever one's the most important for you, why it matters now, and do you think it's possible that we can think about, are there things you can delegate, are there things that you can automate? You don't have to know how now, we just want to identify the need. And typical symptoms will be that you'll have the client information stored in multiple locations or you can't find it, unclear task ownership, the incoming leads are lost, or you can't locate things. Everyone, I try to operate by the standards of always being audit ready. Are you there? Do you know how to keep your books? Is somebody doing that? Inconsistent onboarding. If you have people that are coming on, we want to make sure it's streamlined. This is another big one, unclear how to evaluate job performance. We need to have that transparency. No visibility into the project status is probably one of the biggest ones that most people here are encountering. And then the institutional knowledge held by one person is probably your biggest danger point. All right, so we got that all down. We know what our priorities are that we're going to be thinking about for the rest of this. Okay, so before we get into choosing software, when we get into creating our toolkit, we need to think about the core principles. Just like with anything, if you don't have the appropriate foundations, you won't be able to succeed with whatever you implement. So many people say, oh, someone recommended HubSpot, so therefore I got HubSpot because my friend liked it. Well, the real question is, what do you need? You need to figure out what you need before you get into which software am I using. And this is the most often misstep and the most often cause of why a software implementation doesn't work. In general, I believe that you need to write everything down. Our memories go. I had a baby a year and a half ago about my memory. I don't know if it'll ever come back, but it's gone. I know perimenopause and menopause are coming up, and then my memory's going to be gone too. So I'm just doomed. Write everything down. Every task that you put down needs to have a deadline and an owner. So in my task management system, if I'm putting something on the list of something I need to do, it's assigned to me. I'm planning on doing it tomorrow. Never rely on memory alone. Again, I'm keep coming back to that. Just assume your memory doesn't work. I also think that now that we have all these task management tools and people are writing things down and we have all these AI note takers, people are starting to rely on them a little too much maybe. But it just makes the problem worse. We want your information always to be digital and accessible across the team. So that means that you don't want any paper long term. Right now it's good because we're in a setting where it's good to write things down. But in general, we want things digital and accessible, shared. However it is shared best, whether it's Dropbox or Google Drive or Qbox, there's a whole bunch of different options. This is another one people don't think about, but it needs to be technology that your team embraces because the best software is the one that is used. You can have a fantastic implementation and spend a ton of money on getting the best thing out there. If you don't have buy-in from your team and they're not using it, it is worthless. So you want to make sure to incorporate people from the beginning. This is what we're doing. This is what we're thinking about. Get their opinions. Help them transition onto it. Make it mandatory. I had one client who did not make it mandatory, and then her people weren't using the software, so we didn't capture the information, some of which was billing data, so they made up how many hours to charge each client, which is unethical. And if the guy wasn't using the software, it was not a hard software. For me, that's a fireable offense, because you cannot work as a team if you are not working together as a team. But really, sometimes things that are very feature rich are just too much. So like my personal task management we'll get to is so simple. I love it because it's so easy to use. So now that we know that what's going to go in there, we need to go into the workflow mapping phase. The workflow mapping is not a skill I expect everybody to pick up, but we're going to show you what it looks like. Claude's my favorite. You'll hear me talk about Claude as my friend. Do you all know what Claude is? Okay, great. So I like Claude for a number of reasons. No.
I'm probably the only person who doesn't know Claude.
Okay, so it's a large language model, just like ChatGPT, which you probably heard about. You know what that is? Okay. So ChatGPT came first. They blazed the trail for everybody else to follow. They are led by OpenAI. I personally don't support their AI safety standards, so I am a much bigger fan of Anthropic, who owns Claude. I also like Claude better. It just gives me responses that are more in line with what I want. So what I do is for each client, let's say that I'm working on, I'll make a project. And then it has a memory and it remembers things of what I'm working on. So I have a project called Workstream Workflow, and where I put in, okay, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, this is what I like to see. I fed it all my past workflows that I've developed for other clients and said, this is what I like my workflows to look like. Now, what a workflow is that you are tracing the process from start to finish. Does not need to look like this. In the past, I used Lucidchart, and really if I want to have all the nice pretty lines, I'll still use Lucidchart or Miro or Canva or Draw.io or pen and paper, like whatever it is, just use something. But we want to be able to go from the start. For me, that's always the orange thing on top. What happens next? And then what happens next? And what happens next? And for me, I like to define it by which type of person is doing what. But really, from a technology perspective, it doesn't really make a difference who's doing what. It's just being able to map out something from start to finish. So you can do it down, up and down. You can do it side to side. What I've been doing with Claude lately, again, is I'll just put it in there and say, all right, first I have a call with the client. If they're interested, then I'm going to have an intake call. After the intake call, then I'm going to give it to, bring in my project manager and whoever's relevant to that, brief them on it. We collect all the data, remember the client onboarding phase. Then we're gonna go into service delivery. So just mapping it one step until we get to the point of where I am billing the client for the work that we did, because that's usually where it ends. Some people are on a monthly cycle, so it's just the beginning of the month, the end of the month, how it translates. But being able to map it start to finish tells you what do you actually need. So, questions on workflow. Because it's a different way of thinking. So just think through. Can you pick a workflow that you're thinking about and be able to take it from start to finish? Yes.
I'm just curious what CRM this particular flow chart is.
I built it on Lucidchart.
Lucid?
Yeah. That's the first one over there. I like it. But really, I was sick one day and I needed to do the workflow for my organization, so I'm like busy binge watching something and like prompting Claude to tell it what to do, and it came up with my workflows while I was not feeling well and watching something.
One more question on that. One, does it sync with like either Salesforce, one of the CRMs, or is that a CRM?
This is not a CRM, this is just a process mapping tool, so it's just a visual diagramming. And again, you can use whatever you like. Okay. The next barrier people encounter is pricing. It's gonna be too expensive to get a new software. Look at how much it costs, $50 a person a month. I can't afford that. Well, think about it. If you're paying somebody $35 an hour and you save them 5 hours a week, you are saving them, whatever 700 times 2.5 is, close to $200 a week. Just because you have that $50 a month thing. So you have to think of it as an investment. This is where we are delegating and automating and being able to do more with fewer resources. There are a lot of things that have free starting points, but be careful about that, because sometimes free doesn't mean that it's good. And you start off with it because it's free, but then it grows really fast. Like MailChimp is a really great example of that. Starts out free and you're hooked on it, and all of a sudden you're hit with a $70 bill as soon as you hit the limit, and you're like, oh no, now what do I do? I don't want to move. So know what your next tiers are going to be. Look at the pricing models. You can always ask if they have discounts for small business. Definitely if you're a nonprofit, ask. They usually have some nonprofit pricing. know what it's gonna take you also to get set up. Like if you're transitioning to HubSpot, for example, that's my new favorite tool, it's going to take time to implement it before you're able to use it well. So just factor that cost in. If you don't have someone on staff, you're gonna have to hire somebody to help you with that. Free license doesn't mean free setup. The free tier, be careful just about that. Take a look at the per users pricing. Some of them will give you like administrative seats that are a little cheaper, what your migration costs are gonna be. So just think about the pricing as an investment and just be careful. Now, other things that we want to be careful about, and these are things where people can get into trouble, and I don't want you to. I had one client, for example, who signed a 3-year contract with a software company. It was a nonprofit. They signed for a $3 million contract, and then they didn't need it halfway into it, but guess what? They could not get off the hook for it, and the $1.5 million of nonprofit money went to them. I had a different friend who signed a different contract for a software company, and I think it cost him like $10,000 a month or something. He had to go out of business because it wasn't bringing in what he thought it was going to bring in. Not something we want. Never sign anything that is more than month to month, unless it's cheap. Like if you're doing a CRM and it's $1,000 a year, like that's okay, you can afford that. But be careful. You want to see if they have a small business discount. You want to make sure your data is exportable, importable. Nowadays, most things have that. If they don't, I would be really surprised. We want to know what happens when the free tier runs out. We want to make sure that everything has some kind of multi-factor authentication in there. Has anybody felt about scams lately? Like you've been just more of them. They're coming in, and now with AI, being able to manufacture more scams, like I get fooled by some of them. There was someone who invited me to an event, and it's somebody whose events I've gone to frequently. So I'm like, yeah, of course I'll sign up. And then I click on there, and it's like making me log into my email again. I'm like, what? And then I did it. And then I realized that it was just getting my username and password for Gmail. So I changed it, and thank goodness I had 2FA set up. Otherwise, they could have hacked into my account right then. And I'm pretty savvy, so I'm falling for it. I'm sure a lot of other people are. There was a lot of other instances that have come up. So be very careful. But 2FA has become more important, and as AI gets worse, it is going to be even more important. So if you don't have that already on your email, make sure you have it on your email. I know it's annoying. I hate it. But at the same time, it protects us. It's a necessary evil. Another thing you want to know is where your data is stored and who has access to it. I had a client ask me, I was using Whisper Flow. I don't know if anyone knows that. It's an app that I put on my phone, so when I talk into it, it's really good at transcribing, because I like talking to text. But he's like, well, if I have confidential data, where's that data being kept? I'm like, well, that's an interesting thing, which is, it's in the Whisper Flow database. I don't really know where it goes personally. I don't care about it, but you might. You also want to make sure that it's secure and they have backups. Remember back in the days we had disasters like somebody's hard drive went bust and then you lost your data for 6 months and you had to like recreate it all? That happens less and less, but it can still happen, and you want to make sure your data is backed up safely. You want to limit access by role, and even if you don't need that now, if you're planning on growing, we want to have some people being able to see sensitive data or not. Asking about how you retrieve the backups. You want to know what onboarding looks like. Is it going to be a hard process, easy process? How do they help you with that? And do not trust the companies that you use. Do your own research and see what other people are saying. You want to know about canceling month to month, the support they offer. Some places have great customer support and some don't. And then talking about integrations. Now there are so many integrations. If it can't integrate, you're probably doing yourself a disservice, unless it's like a fantastic tool. But thinking ahead, we don't know what the future is going to bring. And with the speed of everything developing, if you're using a tool that can't integrate, and even Zapier is a great tool to integrate, but things should be integrated now. And you want to know what the usage limits are. Like, again, back to that MailChimp example, you can use it for free until you hit 2,000 contacts and then it's $80. Or the HubSpot automations, for example. You can have one free automation. Oh, I didn't ask that question before I signed up. I should have, because now I need to pay more money to get the other thing that is more automations. Red flags, there's no free trial. You need to try it before you use it. You can't export your data. Long-term contracts, it needs IT staff that you don't have, or if you have usage limits, and then basic cybersecurity we want to focus on. The multi-factor authentication, using a password manager is great. I use Google, my team uses something or other, I don't remember. Make sure things are backed up and that everything's being handled securely. Nobody wants to be the victim of a hacking thing. Okay, that was just a lot of like questions, red flags, things like that. Any questions people have, any experiences people had that aligned or didn't align with this? Nope. Okay. All right. So then we will move on. This is the fun part. This fun part, we're going to talk about my top picks by category. And this is where we want to be thinking about, remember what your main pain points are. So as we get into your next page, we're going to go through the different types of things. And this is where I want to hear from you all about what your experiences have been, what you've liked and what you don't liked. So that way everybody else can learn and share from that. Number 1, task and project management. So remember we talked about that everything needs to be written down, assigned to somebody, and have a due date. This is probably the biggest thing that you can do if you're not doing that already. Have that transparency into everything that's going on. For task management specifically, my favorite is GQs. I love it because it is so simple. I go to an email and I have a Chrome extension enabled and I click on create task and then I pick which list it wants to go to, assign it to me with a date, and that's there. And that way I clear my inbox, I know what I have to do, it is organized. Now I may be behind, like that's entirely possible and true often, but at least I know what I need to be working on and what I'm behind on and I can choose that. It's really great for the Google ecosystem. Todoist is another one a lot of people like. I haven't used it myself, but it's very easy, it's very simple, straightforward. You will hear people using Asana for task management. I don't love it for task management, it's better for project management, and it can be too much. So if we're looking just for, let me just keep track of what I need to do, this works. But again, anything that you're going to use, if it's a pen and paper, if it is an Excel spreadsheet, if it is a Google Doc, I don't care, as long as it is something that you use. Are there any other task management softwares that people like? Okay, I don't know.
So GQs works with Google.
Yeah.
Okay, what if you're using Outlook?
I don't know. I think it's made for Google.
Okay.
So I don't think GQ specifically works for that. There are other Outlook ones. I think Outlook has Outlook tasks plugin, and I don't know. That would be a good thing for me to look into though. Does anyone else use Outlook that has recommendations?
Yeah, Outlook has tasks embedded into it, and it's also integration with Teams. We're using Microsoft Teams, and there's some workflows too that can be embedded. Oh,
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, Outlook does have tasks, calendar, and it's all kind of interconnected. And they have a new booking app connected.
Yes,
to
they
it
did. I
as
saw that.
Yeah, it's very good,
Yeah.
and all connected with Teams as
Yeah,
well.
so Microsoft has its
Yeah.
really great in-house suite. So for those of you who didn't hear, if you're in the Microsoft world, you use Microsoft Tasks, you use Teams, you use Microsoft Booking. There's a lot of tools that you're already paying for, so no need to pay for other things to get out of the Microsoft ecosystem. You may like We'll Get to Scheduling, Calendly better for scheduling. That just seems to be the best one out there now. So even though I have Google scheduling, I don't love it, and I don't think it makes it easy for people I'm scheduling with, so I pay for it anyways. But start with what you have available to you. Project management. So project management is when we have things that take a few steps. We have phases, like let's say you are a lawyer. We have a few lawyers here. So you are going to have a case that opens up, and you're going to need to collect all the data. You're going to need to prepare the documents. You're going to need to do research. I'm making things up here. And then you're going to present it to the client, and then you're going to do edits, and then you're going to submit it to the court, and then you're going to bill the client, right? So we have a multi-phase thing. It's not just you have your 2 assistants, your paralegals who are working on it also, and you have different steps assigned to different people. So for each phase, and this goes back to your workflow, we're tracking the life cycle of the project and who's doing what. The ones I like the most that are easiest usually to set up tend to be Asana. Anybody here using Asana? It's a pretty popular one to start with. If you set it up well, it can be great. So I use that for a bunch of my clients. Monday.com is another good one. That operates a little more of a spreadsheet style, so if you're heavy on tasks, it's probably not great for you. It does have an integrated CRM, which is nice too. ClickUp is a little more sophisticated, but it can do a lot. So
I love ClickUp.
Yeah, ClickUp is great.
It's my favorite.
Did anybody else try ClickUp?
I love ClickUp.
Yeah, ClickUp's wonderful. It's a higher learning curve, but it's amazing. It's you can put everything on it. Yeah. Notion has been an up and coming one. My team convinced me that we are now using Notion. You can just make anything work, so they love it. Has anybody tried Notion? Yeah, it used to be a really good just for knowledge management, but now you can basically make your own customized portals for whatever you want to do. So we run all our stuff off of it. Insightly is another one that's also really customizable, higher learning curve. So it's not as great, but it ranges. Do you need something simple like the GQs or more complicated like the ClickUp? So think about that when you're deciding what to use. And it is really okay and good to say, I want to go with the thing that's easiest to work with, even if it's not the best, because remember, the best tool is the one that you use. Great. Okay. Any other comments on task and project management? Yes.
I was just gonna say, for lawyers, Rocket Matter is really great because it does almost all of these things on its list.
Yes,
So
I looked into that for somebody one
Yeah.
time, and she didn't want to do it. It was like $80 a month. I'm like, for $80 a month, you should definitely be doing this. It's doing everything you need for it, and thinking about all that extra time.
Rocket Matter, so you can have your calendar on there, your project management, your billing, everything.
Yeah. Now, if you're not sure if you have a specialist type of practice, this is where I go back to Claude and say, remember all my workflows? Find me a software. Actually, before I do that, I tell it to make me a decision matrix, which is an Excel spreadsheet essentially that rates all my criteria, and then put in your wish list. Like, I wanted to be able to text my clients because you don't know what it can do until you do the research. Then you have to do the research for you. So this whole process that used to take me a few weeks to do, and now I have it down to a few hours, which is pretty cool because AI is great. All right, CRM. This is a fun one. How many people here have a CRM? Okay, and next time if I ask that question, I want more people raising their hands because no matter what you are doing, we want to keep contact information somewhere, whether it's just storing it. You don't necessarily have to use it so much. What I do, so I use Zoho. I like Zoho because it is just easy for me. I go in there, I just set it up. When I'm talking to somebody, I copy their email address and name, put it in there, put my meeting notes in there. It connects to my email so I can go look and see, oh, how many times did I talk to Rose, for example? It shows me all the conversations that we've had, which is great because now I don't have to remember anything. I could be using the task feature in Zoho, but I don't because GQs just makes life easy for me, so I don't do that. But we want to just have all information together in one place. We want to make the most of our relationships that we make. I want to have a place that you can go to a networking event, get 20 business cards, take a picture of it, have Claude extract the data, import it into your system, then you can send a templated email to everybody and say, hey, it was so nice to meet you, I want to follow up with you, or just, it was nice to meet you and now you're on my mailing list, or whatever it is. And you can do all that automation if you have that CRM. So it will save you a lot of time and you'll get many more relationships out of it. If you have clients that you need to be tracking every time you speak to them, your history, it becomes even more important. And again, there's just so many layers of automation that we can build in with that. So Zoho is my favorite for small companies like mine because it is easy and it is cheap. They have a free plan, but even their paid plan is still pretty cheap. They have for email marketing, I use Zoho campaigns. I switched off from MailChimp because MailChimp was getting too expensive. That's what started my Zoho journey, and I'm like, I should have started earlier because it's just great. I really like it. HubSpot. That was you've heard me mention that one. That's my other new favorite, but that's for like the next size up. It's when you want to be doing a lot of automations or you're doing something in bulk. So I'm working with a client that does a lot of events and they're really heavy on relationships, and I need to have all the features on more of an enterprise level. That's what HubSpot is good for. It will be more expensive, but if you need to take it to that next level, it's great, super customizable, and they have great customer support and a lot of AI embedded into it, which is nice. Insightly is another good one that people use. But really, there's a lot of great CRMs out there. Any other favorites? Yes.
Yeah, that's my
Dubsado.
favorite too.
Yeah, you
Faith,
like
we're
that
on the
one.
same ClickUp, Dubsado, those are my favorites. Yeah, we're on the same.
Never heard of
Same platforms.
Yeah. Any other ones?
I just have a question.
Yep.
Come in. How about security behind this? CRM is great, you put in all this data, all these meetings, all these notes, where is it going? How secure are these?
So you need to ask those questions when you work with them. Most of them are pretty secure. You do want to make sure that you have some kind of 2FA enabled. But most of these are set to be HIPAA compliant also, so people can, if you know something is HIPAA compliant, then you're for sure set. But make sure you're working with a reputable company. I would not just pick a company out there. There are questions to ask, and again, make sure you have that 2FA and basic security, and you can have different roles and privileges, because sometimes you don't want your juniors seeing all your client information. For email marketing, so this is great to send mass emails out. Now, MailChimp is probably one of the most popular, as is Constant Contact, but they're not on here. Zoho Campaigns is by far the easiest. And of the ones that help you have a higher rate of people actually reading it, Zoho Campaigns and MailerLite, MailChimp's up there also, but MailerLite is also on the cheaper end. Yeah, their free plan keeps shrinking. MailerLite is free up to 1,000 subscribers. It should be integrated with whatever CRM you are using. If you have them in two separate places, that is almost worthless. And now again, everything should be talking to each other and integrating. So those are questions you should ask and things you should be thinking about. If people are not sending out newsletters, and so just another recommendation I have in general is send newsletters out from a branding perspective. You want to be top of mind. And having a great email marketing tool keeps you top of mind to all your potential clients, referral partners, etc. All that. Okay, any questions? All right, now we get into communication, scheduling, and time management. So now we did the project management piece. So now we're looking more externally focused. Communication, a lot of people like using Slack. Microsoft Teams also works really well for communicating amongst your team members. Usually if it's about a project, I like people to do it in the project management system, but you also need to have something that's off that. Google Chat is another one that people like to use. I don't love it, but it works for some people. So Gmail is great. Google Drive is great. This presentation I made on Canva because it's easy to share. I don't love Google Drive. I actually have a love-hate relationship with it. Like, it's so easy to put things on there and share it. I hate it because I can never find anything. So it just means that you need to, Claude can help with that. Yeah. And you can probably connect Claude to your Google Drive and just tell it to reorganize it for you, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's fun. So if you haven't played with Claude, like that's another tool tip in general, like just say, this is my challenge, or this is what I have on my to-do list today. How can you help me? And it will tell you how to help you. It's a great tool. Yeah, so those are my topics. I know some people are in the Microsoft space, and then you have OneDrive. If I had to pick, I would pick Google, but OneDrive also works fine. It's just a little more annoying to set up. For calendar and scheduling, so Google Calendar has a thing. Microsoft Outlook has a booking tool. I like Calendly, that is my favorite. I pay for it. I actually have two accounts, one for my business and one for the nonprofit, because I love it so much and I want the emails to come from the right email. I'm also doing a beta trial for a new feature they have for an automated scheduling assistant. So it's fun. I love it because I have multiple links, so I can say, oh, let's talk. Do I need to speak to them immediately? They get my link that has my max availability. Is it a normal call, just a regular person that I want to follow up with? They get a 30-minute regular intro call with my general availability. Is it a coaching call? I can set up all these things and it makes it a really nice user experience. Integrates with my calendar, which then of course is integrating with my CRM, so it's all there. And some CRMs, I bet we can have them pull in the meeting notes also, right? So there's a lot of fun things that you can do with that. Time tracking. Does anybody track time? Yeah, a little bit. It's not too much. I like it when people track time because it gives you transparency into what you are doing and what is going on. I know it's annoying, but how are you going to get more efficient if you don't know where your time is going? Some people block everything on their calendar. Some people need it because you're billing your clients, and if you're billing your clients hourly, you need to be tracking time hourly. We started off with toggles, great program, it works fine for our billing purposes. We really liked our timesheet. It was really easy for our people to use, and then it went straight into QuickBooks and made really nice invoices, and we got all the data. So yeah, I pay a little bit, I pay what, $8 per user per month? But then we just automated a whole lot of the billing process, which is really nice. Clockify is another one people like. There are a lot of them out there, they all cost around $8 to $10 a user. I don't know why time tracking is so expensive, but it is. Any favorites out there, or things that people like, don't like? Yes, Faith.
Just another plug for ClickUp. It does time tracking. It does.
That's true. ClickUp does time tracking on there, so you can have everything in ClickUp, and I really do mean that. It does invoicing also, I think, right?
I haven't used that feature.
Okay. I had one client who was using that feature.
Dubsado has an invoicing feature and a calendar feature.
Okay. I'm gonna check out Dubsado. It sounds like.
Is it?
You'll have to give me a guide to tour, Catherine. All right, and then we get into finance, payroll, and AI, which we've been referring to, but we'll talk more about it. Finance and bookkeeping. Remember we said we want to be audit ready at all times, so that means that you need to be doing your books. QuickBooks, Xero, I actually should put on here Wave. I use Wave personally because, well, for one company I use Wave, the other one I use QuickBooks. Because it's just easy. And remember, I like easy, so Wave, it goes in, it matches, all I have to do is just match things up, and it takes me a couple hours a year to do my bookkeeping with that, which is nice. So bookkeeping is a thing, and then bill paying, expense management. If you're small, you can probably just keep it within your bank. I didn't put banking on here, but I like Mercury, seems to be the most popular from what my clients have come with. They have good online bill pay stuff too. Ramp, if you're a little larger, it is so good for expense management and for credit cards and company credit cards and managing expenses and paying contractors. It's probably my #1 favorite tool in the finance section. For payroll, we like to have somebody do it for you. So you can work with the payroll provider, or you can use Gusto or JustWorks. I don't think any of you have anything too complicated. JustWorks is better for the more complicated multi-state things. Gusto is just easy. So they'll help you through most of it. And for the LLMs, we are thinking about what can technology do for me. If I had an assistant sitting next to me who didn't have too much background knowledge, context, and didn't always do things perfectly right, what could I ask them to do? So I like Claude. Gemini is part of the Google suite. I know that Microsoft has Copilot. Rose, you can probably cover it. Oh, you use it yet? And large language model. Why it's called a large language model? I like officially, it predicts the next word. Like that's how it all works. Nobody really knows how it works. It just does. Which is scary. Yes, it is scary. And AI safety is a concern. We should all be worried about it. Yes.
I just have I'm wondering why you don't like ChatGPT. Is it because it becomes your friend and tells you exactly what you want to hear? Or
It's very sycophantic. I did not like that. That is true. That is why I initially switched off to Cloud, but really, I really don't like OpenAI. I think that in the race to AI safety, about what's going to doom us all if it gets unleashed, I think OpenAI is probably pushing it forward too much. Yes, Rose?
OpenAI also just said, anything you create with OpenAI, they just put information out there that they claim a right towards that IP. So if you make
If if you make anything on OpenAI, then they have the rights to it. Wow,
They said they reserve the right to take your rights.
that's crazy. That means that all the Disney, all the things people have contracted with, and they now have the rights to all that? That's insane.
That
Wow.
just came out in the last month.
Okay. Yeah, there was the thing with the government. The government wanted Anthropic to give them access to everything. Anthropic is who makes Claude. Claude, they said, no, we don't think that's a safe thing to do. So then they were blacklisted by the government, and then they lost that contract. And I think they're okay now because the suit didn't hold up in court. And now OpenAI is giving all their data to the government. So again, we're gonna unleash these robots and they're gonna kill us all.
But Anthropic lost that lawsuit to the authors for 1.5 billion because they took copyrighted books to build Claude
They did.
and took them from pirated sites and without the author's permission. So
That's
they,
another used concern a lot of people have is
Yeah.
about copyrighted material being taken, and that's what they were trained on.
yeah.
Everything we use
Yeah.
with Claude, you could put stolen.
They all did that. It wasn't just Claude. It was
Yeah.
OpenAI. All of them did that.
And the digital images as well.
Another number about the major AI platforms is that they're all siblings or at least cousins. Researchers move from one lab to another all the time,
That is true.
and they take their ideas with them. But each AI, each platform is built with objectives, and their objectives do differ from AI to AI. So don't limit yourself to using one AI. It's not like a big difficult software package you have to learn. This is something you're gonna have a conversation with. So use the AI whose objectives best fit what you're trying to do. For example, there's one called Pi, PI, and Pi was built specifically to have a very, very high emotional intelligence quotient. And so I was having a chat with Pi one day, and out of nowhere, Pi said, "Have you had enough water today?" So they do have different objectives, different personalities, different constitutions. So use the one that fits what you do.
Yep. Yes. Definitely do that. From a practical perspective, Gemini is really great at pictures. I don't know if any of you, I did a flash productivity talk, and I had the cutest pictures that Gemini just made for me. I have a cross-stitch design that I'm working on. It says I said maybe, and that's final. And Gemini made the pattern for me, which was really great. In the past, I had to make my own patterns. So images, you want to go for Gemini. Perplexity, I don't use too much, but Perplexity Computer, one of my clients was using it. Just had it go overnight and like made this like whole snazzy website with videos built in. It's pretty cool what it can do. So have fun with it. It can be a really good toy. Okay, so tool reference. I want you to write down which ones do you think sound exciting? What do you want to be working on? Which one can you make a move on? And then on the bottom of that, we want to match your problems to your solution types. So remember our first thing we talked about our problem areas? What are your problems and what solution types can you be using? What kind of tools can you put in? We always want to take action. So it's not just to hear and listen. We want you to do something that is going to make you come back, be a little more productive, a little less overwhelmed. It will take some time to put in whatever system, but it's an investment in yourself. I can go back to the other slide. This is our tool reference, which you also have a lot of them on the sheet. And what we think it helps with delegating or automating. Yes?
What is delegate and what is that?
Delegating is when we are telling someone to do something for us. So it's like for task management, we're delegating our memory, which is, you don't even realize how much memory and usage and stress and energy goes into remembering things. So if we take that out, you don't have to worry about it. And you know, and you can rely on that task management software will not forget it. Project management does that, and it helps automate things also because we can move things through the process. You have a question? Mm-hmm.
Actually, I just want to bring something up, a helpful thing for delegation. Claude can also do that with Claude Skills and Claude Co-work. Claude does much more than just a chat feature, answering
Yeah.
questions. You can make it do skills that are repeatable without you having to put in the same thing over and over and over again. It can save a lot of time.
It can save a lot of time. yeah, like now that I taught it how to make my workflow, it'll know how to do that. I had a PDF I needed to transfer in images, and I tried with Adobe, and it didn't do the best quality. I asked Claude to do it for me. If you're coding, it is amazing for that. If you were reviewing 30 job descriptions, you can have cowork read them all and extract summaries from them. Again, if you have a job or task that needs to happen, say, hey Claude, how can you help me with this to make it easier? My husband keeps trying to encourage me to use cowork a little more, but I just don't have a good use case for it. But it can do so much for you. Yes?
I would just like to share, as a writer and a researcher, I saw on Instagram once that Dr. Amen or Dr. Amen, the brain scan doctor, he loves Copilot, and so if he likes Copilot, I was like, well, I think I'm going to just check it out. So I really looked into it a lot, and it's really helped me a lot in terms of research.
Now, Copilot helps you. Claude and Perplexity are going to help you even more.
I love Copilot too. My girl's British and I talk to her. I just love her accent, so I love Copilot.
And you can use it for personal things also. I was switching to an anti-inflammatory diet, so I asked Claude, all right, this is what I'm about to eat. Is it anti-inflammatory? And then it says, yes, you're doing a great job. This is your best meal of the day so far. And things like that. My daughter uses it when she runs track. She's like, give me a pep talk. I want to be excited. And then unfortunately her Claude account was suspended because it found out that she's 14 and you have to be 18. She's like, but I need my Claude. Getting her on something. Yes.
So, a lot of us use multiple tools. Highly recommend finding something.
A lot of us use multiple tools, so highly recommend finding something like Zapier, which can send you notifications from the other apps to let you know, oh, there's something new in Drive. Oh, there's something new in Slack. There's something new in ClickUp. Especially if you're dealing with clients that there are tasks and activity that they do that you want your team to be on top of. So that's what we use.
Zapier is really good
Zapier's
for
really
that.
good for that. Yeah.
You just zap everything.
Z-A-P-I-E-R. Yeah, it requires a little more technical knowledge, but only a little bit. Claude can also integrate with your Google Drive, with your HubSpot. You can integrate with so many things. I haven't even explored all of them. Calendly. Slack also for communications can also alert you. It's really good at all those integrations. So again, things can do, don't imagine that just because you don't know the solution, it doesn't exist. And if you don't know how to do it, then we go ask Claude, how do I do this? So the learning curve can become so much easier. Yeah, no, this is great.
Come on back. Come on back.
Yeah. Another tip that if you find a tool that looks great, but you have zero time to figure out how to implement it, there are virtual assistants out there who will set that up for you. You have intimate knowledge with most of these platforms. You do have to give them some permissions to get into some of your other software, but in the end, they'll do it in a couple of hours where it would have taken you days and weeks to try to figure it out. And they can set it up right for you the first time.
You're talking about a human.
A human. Now, I think we can have co-work start doing that. I was gonna play with that soon, so I can report back once I see if HubSpot can do that. But that's where I started off in my career, is in creating custom software, implementing it, and helping people do that. And that just morphed into more workflow because people needed to know what they need rather than what they thought they needed. But that's how I got started with that. Okay, so look at your pain points. Match the tool that you're going to use. Do that now, because we want you to take action items, and then we're going to focus on how do we take what we've just learned to actually make your life easier. And that is going to be our action plan. Before we just move on, there any other technology favorites?
Like Dropbox.
Dropbox is great. Yeah, I like it better than Google Drive, and I love Dropbox because I can just get a new computer, install Dropbox, and my files are restored, which is amazing. And then I use Google Drive though when I need to share with other people. That's a good one. Yeah, it does, but then if it's collaborating, it just makes it more annoying, so, yeah. Okay, so you're gonna now walk out of here with actions, yes?
I just wanna add, because I
Sure.
wrote a note, and instead of one of these, like technology, I have a lot of technology in my business, but I wrote my pain point, and then I wrote a person.
which could potentially be you, I mean, I wrote Jen as one of my solutions.
Okay.
Just in that the technology is great, but sometimes
You
it's
just
so
need someone.
overwhelming, this is so overwhelming, for so many of us, even though we have CRMs and other systems, but to have someone potentially to help you navigate all of this information is really critical.
Yeah, it is really helpful. Yeah, thank you. It is a lot of information. So we're trying to pick like one thing to move on, but having that trusted partner that you can bring in to help you, having somebody on your team that you can bring in to help you. You don't need to go through this alone. That's another one thing I keep trying to tell people. You do not need to be alone in this world of business management. There are other people who have expertise that you don't have. Tap into them. We cannot be experts in everything. And if we try, we just waste a whole lot of time and energy that we could have been doing on more productive things that are within our lane. And we want to delegate as much as we can. Yep.
No, I just wanted to share for people who do like more service things, like I do a small service type business and I use Wix, which literally I created my website. You can like schedule all the different appointments, they pay online, like it does all the things as well. So for like smaller type things.
Yeah.
Works well.
Well, that's great. That is a really good one. As much as you can, just think, dream, and then ask and see how you can put it in there. So, your action plan, I want you to think of something that will solve your number one pain point. Or something that would solve a pain and you can learn it in 2 hours and be done with that. And it also needs to be within your budget. Is there anything you can think of that can do that? Either one of the first two, and it definitely has to be within your budget. We want to then come up with an action plan of what are you going to take away from this workshop. You're going to walk out of here and say, I'm taking one action that I am committing to. What are you going to do this week? Which tool are you going to look into? Which thing are you going to set up? What is your first step? And who can help you with it? Let's plan that out with the hope that within 30 days it's being implemented. And with that, we're open for questions. Thank you all for being here. I know it's a lot. I promise you there are answers, and we can help you get there.
Thank you, thank you. Ready?
I am ready. Okay. All right. So first of all, I love the credit cards. Thank you. We are blessed to have two of our recipients here with us today. Amy Brand, who got 3 years in a row, is now gainfully employed. Yeah, we got through to her.
Congratulations.
Yes, absolutely. She made it across the finish line. And we have Rhonda Boone, who was gainfully employed and still is, but still moving forward on things, right? Correct. So our June luncheon is our scholarship luncheon. Okay, I'm going to tell you who I'm thanking.